Let us pray. Father, we pray tonight as instructed in your word. When Jesus' disciples said, teach us to pray. And you said this, our Father, our origin and source of life, hallowed, worshipped, adored, eternal and forever is your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. So tonight we ask that your will be done in our city as it is in heaven. So I pray for this honorable body, as it says in 1 Timothy 2. Pray for all of those in authority over you in any way, that we may lead a peaceable and tranquil life in all godliness and dignity. So we pray for peace in our city. And I ask for each man and woman representing us tonight that they be filled with the spirit of wisdom and revelation and the knowledge of you. So bless us with peace, your presence and favor. We honor you as our God, as our King. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman French.
Here.
Alderman Anderson. Here. Alderman Melody.
Here.
Alderman Hobbs.
Here.
Vice Mayor Messing.
Here.
Alderman Parsley.
Here.
Have your approval of the minutes of the meetings listed in the package. Do I hear a second?
I'll say.
Any suggestions or corrections? If not, call the roll, please.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson. Aye. Alderman Melody.
Aye.
Alderman Hobbs.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Messing.
Aye.
Alderman Parsley.
Any correspondence? Okay. Any comments from the citizens? If not, my comment for me, I'd like to welcome everyone here. It's always good to have a full house, and right now, Attorney Johnson would like to address something.
Yeah, so ordinance number 1661, which is relative to zoning districts, was taken off because after doing a review of the process that started earlier in the year up to today, it was noted that a public hearing had not been had. Therefore, a public hearing will be had on this ordinance during its second reading on November the 1st. Any questions from the board?
Which ordinance?
1661 is the one that the Planning Commission recommended the changes to the existing zoning district.
Land use plan.
It's a part of it, but not the land use plan.
Changes the zone.
Now, the land use plan will also require a public hearing on its second reading, but it's on the night for the first reading. But both of those ordinances, when we do the second reading on November the 1st, we'll have a public hearing. That way we can comply with the public notice requirements.
We're getting into committees and commissions report. Safety.
Safety, we met, we met twice. The first meeting was kind of put together. We changed our meeting date to the third Monday of each month. And then we had a special call meeting to discuss our police chief.
Finance.
Finance, we met last night. Didn't have a whole lot on the agenda. We also looked at the meeting for the first or third Monday of each month.
Street.
George, you got anything?
I don't have anything. Our next meeting will be October the 10th, 5:30. Unless it's changed.
We probably need to have one. So,
Thank you. Water and sewer.
We'll have our meeting on Thursday at 3 p.m. at the courthouse.
Okay. Recreation.
With the recreation department, I want to say that I think that they're doing a great job. AJ and his team are wonderful. They're expanding services to our citizens by offering nursery on the weekends now. And they're also offering the 4th and 5th grade basketball again. And they've got all kinds of wonderful programs going on, one of which is the pool party this weekend. So if you have a pet that likes the pool, come out. I think it's between $2 and $5. Your dog needs to be vaccinated and play well with others. Another thing we need to think about with the recreation department is they presented us with a study about maintenance and investments that are going to be required. That'll be something we'll be looking at this budget year. So it's not time to talk about that yet, but everyone be thinking about that because we want to try to be proactive and not reactive because that will save us money in the long run. You're welcome.
Okay, tourism, right tonight we're going to change the representative from the board, but I have to say it was, the first meeting was getting to know each other and welcoming each other to the tourism committee. Okay, planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning is occupying quite a bit of this whole agenda, but our next meeting is October 17th.
Thank you. Information systems.
Yes, Tina, would you like to speak on that right there as far as us looking into getting the prices of a new speaker system?
My motion was made for us to get an RFP together to replace the audio system in here, the microphones, and see what else we can do.
So everyone can hear.
Yes. We'll try to remember to lean into the mics tonight. Historic zoning?
No meeting this month. Next meeting will be November 3rd.
Thank you. Getting into resolutions.
A resolution approving a contract with St. John Engineering LLC for engineering services to the city of Manchester, sponsored by Mayor Howard. And I will say that the original contract that was in your packets that was sent out last week has been changed just a tad under 2 paragraphs, and we whittled those down some under indemnification and risk, loss of liability. Mr. St. John agreed to have a limit raised up to the limits of his insurance policy, and then the indemnification clause was whittled down to make it neutral.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. It is as stated. Is there any comments on this? I'll say they do a good job, and I appreciate St. John Engineering. Call roll, please.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
No.
Alderman Bellamy.
Aye.
Alderman Hobbs.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsley.
B, a resolution adopting a plan of services preliminary to annexation of 12 and 63/100 acres of property owned by Kroll Properties, LLC, located on Oakdale Street, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messick. This is a public hearing.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion or approval?
Now remember, this is just to annex it. We're not voting on rezoning or anything, we're just supposed to annex it, I think, so.
Public service, and it is a public hearing, and if you, any citizens who have any comments, I'd ask that you come to the podium, state your address, and also keep it within 2 to 3 minutes.
Hello, Amanda Montez. I live at 1404 Oakdale Street, citizen of Manchester and Coffee County.
Yes, you may.
Is that the same thing we had last time?
No, sir. And to keep this brief, I went ahead and wrote out what I'd like to present to you, ladies and gentlemen, tonight. As you can see, the revised property lines show that there is only one entryway into the proposed high-density development. I know we're talking about annexation here. I've combined the two just for sake of time, so I don't have to get up here twice and waste all of your time here. But thank you for allowing for the correction. I do feel it makes a difference to show this to the community and to the board when considering this property for annexation and rezoning, because the roads leading to the subject property are single-lane roads. Oakdale Street at its widest width is 13 feet, while its shortest width is 12 feet and 4 inches. Furthermore, Elm Street, the street that intersects with Oakdale Street, is only 16 feet 9 inches wide, which makes for a very tight turn onto Oakdale. I think it's important to note that when we think about emergency vehicles trying to get back there, for approximately 409.5 residents, that's an estimation, that could potentially reside in this development. Just as a recap, my presentation last month, I performed the due diligence to show that the current infrastructure surrounding this property does not support this annexation and rezoning to R4 development. However, I listened to the comments throughout the night from different aldermen regarding concern for policy. Therefore, I come before you tonight after performing extensive research and a review of the entire Title 14 of our municipal codes on zoning and land use control, with the purpose of showing that not only is the infrastructure inadequate for this proposed development, but this proposed property does not align with our Title 14 municipal code. For example, in 14-203 of Title 14, the purpose section states, the purpose of this zoning ordinance is to promote public health, safety, morals, convenience, order, prosperity, and general welfare by, and it goes on to name 10 different items. I'd like to direct your attention to the following. Number 2, preventing the overcrowding of land. Number 3, conserving the value of land and buildings. Number 4, minimizing traffic hazards and congestion. Number 5, preventing undue concentration of population. The next section, Title 14 code, that's very important to note, is 14.605, titled Residential District Regulations, which state the residential districts established by this zoning ordinance are designed to promote the same public health, safety, comfort, convenience, prosperity, and other aspects of general welfare. But these general goals include, among others, the following specific purposes. Again, I would like to direct your attention specifically to number 2, protect the residential areas as far as possible against heavy traffic and against through traffic of all kinds. 3, to protect residential areas against congestion by regulating the density of population, the bulk of buildings in relation to land around them. And number 7, I'll paraphrase a little bit, to promote the most desirable use of lands and to conserve the value of land and buildings. The last section is 14.6110, which is titled R4 High Density Residential District, where it specifically states that this class of district is designed to provide suitable areas for high-density residential development where sufficient urban services and facilities are available, or where such facilities will be available prior to development. As you can see on the next slide, we have letters from Manchester City Schools, City of Manchester Water Department, Manchester Fire and Rescue, Manchester Police Department, and Manchester Parks and Recreation, which all indicate concerns with this development and these R4 developments in general. Going on in the presentation, I provide pictures of surrounding homes and areas which will be directly affected by this proposed development. Again, I completed the due diligence to show that this type of development in this particular area of Manchester does not have adequate infrastructure, sufficient urban services, or the support of this community to pass an annexation or rezoning to a high-density residential area.
Other comments? Comments from the board?
I have a comment or two, okay? I have a few thoughts, and I'm doing this is in all due respect to Ms. Montez and anybody else out there that's for this or against it, whichever way. I just have a few thoughts about this. Anytime you rezone or annex property, there's always people that get affected. Some people think they're affected negatively. Some people are affected positively. A few of the perceived negatives in this is property value. I don't see property values going down at all in that area. If anything, I think it will improve property values. You'll have better comps to compare your houses to. Roads, you mentioned roads, they're all 2-lane roads, Ms. Montez. They may not be the widest 2-lane roads in the city, but all of them are 2-lane roads. Schools, crowded, they are. But the school system's working on a plan, and soon we'll have the school board meet with the board, mayor, and alderman, and we'll sit down and we will fix the school problem. That it's been worked on right now. Sewers, have anybody out there ever got a flush toilet and it didn't work because the sewer was backed up? It was at capacity. You haven't, and you won't, okay? Well, let's look at some of the positives. I know it's messing up your little half acre, God's little green acre that you got, but I know also that somebody else is getting a house, okay? They're getting a new house, and that's their little piece of heaven. Increasing wealth. Just think, these people that are now able to buy a house, houses are available, then you can buy a house. Just think, 5 years ago, Willow Drive, which is a similar little subdivision, I sold houses in there for $130,000, $140,000 a piece. They're $230,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 now. Those people that were able to buy those houses have made money. They've created wealth. They have provided for their family. And one of the biggest complaints that I've always gotten from everybody in Manchester is we don't have anywhere to shop. We don't have anywhere to eat. We don't have a grocery store. So, and we're not going to get one either unless we build houses. And I hate that these houses have to be next to somebody, but they have got to be next to somebody. So if we want to do, if you want a better place to shop, a better place to eat, a better place to buy groceries, we're going to have to buy some houses. Now, I know that everybody out there is concerned about schools, roads, properties, and sewage. But we're worried when we annex property on Esther Lane, there's going to be about 200 homes built in there. If you were truly concerned about schools, and that's the worst road situation in the city of Manchester. One way in, one way out, and every time we have a heavy dew, it floods. But they're going to put 200 houses in there. Okay, Hills Chapel, we got a new subdivision on Hills Chapel. Another terrible road in the city, 50 houses. Interstate Drive, we annexed it, there's 40 acres there, there's a possibility there's going to be 400 houses built on that property. What about schools then? None of y'all were here when all that came up, because none of y'all cared about schools, roads, or sewer, or anything like that until it affects you. Now, and that's okay, I understand that. But, and I say it in all due respect, but no one's concerned about it until it affects them. And who's looking out for everybody else? Well, that's our job. The board, the mayor, and alderman. It's our job to look out for everybody else. The people, we're looking out for those people that want a better quality of life. It's our job. We're elected to do what's best for the entire city, not for one street or one block, okay? We're elected, we should stand on a high point and see the entire picture. And that's what we're here for. We're not against any of you. We're not. We're just trying to be for the entire citizens of Manchester. So let's just look at the plan of service for this, okay? All right, it's not so bad here. According to the Manchester Planning Commission, it says it does not appear that the services will require the city to bear any cost of any additional infrastructure. Therefore, they recommend to approve the plan of services. Okay? Now let's go over and look at the sewer department. No demand numbers were indicated for this annexation. It would be necessary, and that means we don't have plans. We don't have any houses that are going to be there. Okay? So it would be necessary for the developers to generate the demand for any proposed project for the concurrence of the city engineer, make the determination if the infrastructure is adequate, and any necessary upgrades to the infrastructure would be at the cost of the developer. Every new connection to the sewer system requires state approval. This could get approved tonight, and it could be 3 years from now before the first house is ever built. Because until TDEC says, Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, until they say that you can build a house, you can't build a house. Okay? All right, let's see here. So the Manchester Water and Sewer Department cannot give a commitment that TDEC will approve the connection of your proposed development. They didn't say that they didn't want those built. Street Department, the developer will be responsible for providing a 50-foot road of city-approved quality for the subdivision, for the development. Okay? Manchester Fire and Rescue supports the annexation of this property into the city limits. Let's see what we got next. Y'all bear with me. From the Codes and Safety Department, it says until plans for potential development are submitted, it will be impossible, oh, this is from Manchester City Schools, I'm sorry. Until plans for potential development are submitted, it will be impossible to predict the number of schools needed. Like I said, I've talked to Dr. Vaughn today, and we're working, there's a plan being proposed right now. So it says we will do our best to serve and accommodate these new families with the assistance of the mayor and alderman in the future. I don't think you've ever had a kid turned down school because there wasn't room for them. Of course, AJ wants some more land, and I understand, AJ. I mean, you know, I'm good, man. If I was writing this up, I'd say I ain't got enough land either. But you're okay. I mean, you know, we're not so crowded that the facilities can't be used. Another 40, 50 houses is not going to hurt. Of course, finance department's on board. The police protection is going to be there. So I don't see the problem here. Now there's some legal ramifications for this. If you vote no on a piece of property that's been through the planning and zoning, and it comes up before us, and there's no reason to vote against it. Craig Johnson, if you got just a few minutes, will you take us through that?
Yeah, so this argument, well-laid argument, talks about zoning and rezoning, and the proper time, as you pointed out, would be when the resolution or ordinance comes up for the rezoning. So the provisions that you talk about here don't necessarily apply to approval of the plan of services. But taking the whole approval as a whole, there's three different resolutions / ordinances that have to be done. As a part of it, you look at all these factors. And so you can't just rely on the ones Vice Mayor Messick said. You can't just rely on the ones that Ms. Montes says. You have to view all of the factors together. And what you want to avoid is an arbitrary and capricious decision based on particular facts or particular wants of particular people at the time. You have to look at all these factors and make a determination based on all of the things that are laid out within our zoning ordinance. And if you don't do that, then you could be subject to a lawsuit based on an arbitrary and capricious decision. Now, your planning commission approved it. So if you vote it down, then you are, in essence, opening yourself up to a potential arbitrary and capricious decision. That's what you have a planning commission for, is to consider all these things, and then you make a decision from there.
I have a question, Attorney Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
I was studying annexation today. Can everyone hear me?
I can't.
In a little, okay.
I would have to try.
Sorry. I was studying annexation today to try to get prepared for this meeting, and on the MTAS website, I was looking at plan of services. This advisory letter says the plan of services shall include but not be limited to police protection, fire protection, water service, electrical service, sanitary sewer service, solid waste collection, road and street construction and repair, recreational facilities and programs, street lighting, and zoning services. If the municipality maintains a separate school system, the plan shall also include schools and provisions specifically addressing the separate school system. Then the municipality shall provide written notice of the annexation to all affected school systems as soon as possible, but in no event less than 30 days prior to the public hearing requirements set forth in subdivision B4. The plan of services may exclude services that are being provided by another public agency or private company in the territory. So my question is, because we do feed into the high school, do we have to give the high school notice these decisions that we're making affects them. And my second part of the question is, it says there should be a reasonable plan, reasonable implementation schedule for the delivery of services, comparable services that we're providing to all of the residents in the city. So if we don't know when we can give them sewer, if we can't give them a timeline, you know, I don't feel like that's an arbitrary or capricious decision on my part. It says here that if we have, I mean, where are we on our plans of services for the 7 annexations that we did last year? You know, if we are in default on any plan of services, we cannot legally annex any more property.
Well, I don't know what part of that was a question.
Well, the first thing was, does it need to go to county schools? Because, you know, as the citizen brought up last time, it does affect the county. Does this say that it should go to them for their...
So your question is the county school system affected by
Should
plan
they
of
be
services?
included in the plan of services and the notice, number one? Number two, do we know if we are delivering the schedule for the other annexations, or are we behind?
And that I don't know. You
That's
have to ask the
information that I would like
directors.
before I vote on any annexation. It's not part of the city now, we're about to potentially make it part of the city, then it becomes our responsibility. So I feel like now is the time I need the answers.
With the other annexations, I can say that each department gave their plan of service. It was up to the planning and zoning to look at what each department said they could do. We made a decision as a board, and it stands.
At that time, yes. But for instance, you know, if this was before the sewer rehab project fell apart, then maybe we thought, well, we could get sewer out here, you know, a certain place within 2 years. Maybe we couldn't, because that's not something that we had seen coming.
I can't find, I don't think there's any subdivision that was approved that's behind.
Well, I know there were.
I'm not 100% certain on that, but I can't think of it.
Well, there were some subdivisions that were caught with the TDEC changing.
Sure.
And we are making sure that everyone, that planning and zoning, also when they go to water and sewer, that they know that they could be stopped. But especially if they're above a chronic manhole, which the new order could even make it tougher. So we do not want a subdivision coming in. And I did call Mr. Curl when he said he wanted to be at, when he was, I think, purchasing the land. I said, you could be caught. If you go ahead and buy this land, after annexation, you pay higher taxes when you could be caught with 1 to 3 years, because it is above the Jolly Brown manhole, which 2/3 of the city flows into that manhole. And we're doing everything possible, but we do not want a developer coming in and being caught without being, everyone is explained. If we know everyone that comes in, we say, this is what could happen to you, because, you know, we could have a developer that is running, expected to be hooked up, because it did happen, and it happened that they weren't above a chronic, where it was corrected. But right now, we are making sure that every developer, Mr. Curl understands this. As far as the high school, we take a burden off of the high schools, because we don't require buses. And I know that the county really pulled more permits last year than we did. So, you know, they are increasing their numbers. So, you know, it is something to consider, but I hope that answers your question.
And after reflection and to answer your specific question, we're not bringing property into the county. The property is already in the county. So it's not affecting them, other than the possibility sometime in the future there could be more houses built on that property. That possibility is already there.
Any more comments?
I was saying on the previous annexation, as far as plan of service, I don't think any of the annexations we have are where we're going to have to extend infrastructure out. There's going to be more hooking infrastructure up once the developer's done with that particular development. I'm trying to think of any of them that would require us to build infrastructure out to them. I think it's more just connecting on our services. But speaking of that, any kind of TDAC restrictions, those are gonna be in play regardless. And that, I don't think that would affect plan of service so long as they don't enter into that agreement. TDAC outweighs us when it comes to making those decisions. We can't put them on maintenance and whatever the reason is. I think Mayor Brown has an animal named after him.
Number 13.
Any more comments? State your name and address, please.
Sarah Bradley, I live in District 3 in the urban growth boundary under the jurisdiction of redacted.
Do you have a physical address?
I do, it's Manchester.
So
I received my water, I'm not doing this again. This
I'm just asking, man. All we want is a name and an address.
You want to know where I'm at? Come
I want
talk
to
to
know
me outside.
everybody
I'm not
else is
stating my address publicly. There's no legal provision
Why can't you?
that allows me to amend my actual address. New Union School Zone, urban growth boundary,
Anyone in
voting
that club out
precinct
there
31.
is fair.
That's
Name and address.
enough. Sir,
Have you got an address?
Ms. President, we asked.
I woke up in a good mood. I thought 10:40, it's gonna be a good day. I've been praying for peace all day. But this was a bit upsetting.
Okay.
I do just want to
Ms.
point out a
President,
couple of
I
things.
do have the authority to ask that you comply with the rules or ask.
Yes, ma'am, I was not.
And that is your
anticipating
address, as we ask everyone else. If you
What
can't
is
get the
the
address,
legal
we'll ask that
difference
you
for
be either seated or escorted down the room, Ms. Brandon.
Okay, it is 123 Main Street. Is there really a legal requirement for stating your personal address?
The Board of Mayor, or the mayor as the presiding officer of the Board of Mayor and Alderman has the right to control the meeting to provide an orderly and efficient meeting.
Okay.
And I'm not finished. So to do that, she has the power to restrict time. She also has the power to restrict who speaks. One of the restrictions that she can impose is that you have to be a citizen and resident of inside the Manchester city limits, or have a direct interest.
Yes, I'm in the market for a large property in city limits, but been reluctant to buy because of all of
Okay, Ms. Brandon, I would ask that you would be seated, or
that
I have an officer in the room to escort her out the room.
2 minutes.
Thank you. Any more comments?
I just have one. So in the presentation, there's several things pointed out under Title 14. Is there any concerns?
Is that a question to me?
Yes, sorry, I'm sorry.
Any concerns? You look at all these factors together, and so it's not, from a legal viewpoint, is there any concerns? Is that your question?
Yeah, more specifically on the last one, to where it says prior to development. Kind of hung up right there. It'd be your third one, it's 14-16-R4.
Say that again, Alderman.
It's the last one, it's 14-610. It says where significant urban services and facilities are available, or where such facilities will be available prior to development.
Right, so when a person goes to develop a piece of property, as you know, they submit plats and they submit the infrastructure they're going to put in. And they have to meet the requirements of the city's rules and regulations. And that's where that comes in. That has to happen prior to the Board of Zoning approving their development. So that's the time when the city requires and/or mandates what's required before the development can begin, not at annexation time.
Okay. So, just so that I understand, right? So, we're talking about annexation first, right? That's what this is about.
That's
So this is.
That's it. Any more comments regarding plan services?
Yeah, I just want to correct. This is for plant services first, annexation's next resolution.
Any more comments? If not, call the roll, please.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
No.
Alderman Bellamy. Alderman Hobbs. Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsley.
No.
A resolution annexing 12 and 63/100 acres of property owned by Pearl Properties LLC located on Oakdale Street, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messick.
Any comments? Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Okay. It is moved and seconded. The motion is as presented. Any comments from the board?
So I have a good question. So now that we're talking about annexation, right? So this is, so we did a plan of service, and so the annexation would just bring the property into the city.
What will this be annexed zone, right?
Oh, we've not talked about zoning yet. Just brings it, this is just the annexation. This just says that it's gonna be within the city limits.
And so it doesn't, there will be more meetings for zonings and other things.
There'll be another resolution down here about zoning.
Under ordinances D,
Yeah, another ordinance.
no, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. C. C.
C. Right now, all we're voting on is to bring that piece of property into the city limits.
We said yes, that we provide plan of services, and now do we want to annex? Any more comments from the board?
I'll comment that, I found the plan of services to be vague and inadequate, and I don't think the infrastructure's there. I have concerns about the sewer, I have concerns about the city schools. We have over half the students at Westwood Elementary that are walkers, that walk to school. That's a lot of cars on that road without sidewalks, without, designated lanes, without city transportation. I'm a parent that had students at Westwood Elementary, the Westwood Middle and College Street, and I've experienced the traffic. So I would prefer to figure out what our plan is with the schools first, instead of, going back and doing that later. I feel better about that with all the over 2,000 building permits, residential units last year. I think there's a lot hanging out there that's already coming down the pike, and so that's on record, that's why I'm voting against this.
Any more comments?
I deal with traffic every morning. It's a problem. It's a problem. But nobody's got school late because of it. Not yet. Nobody's failed to make it to school because of the traffic.
Any more comments from the board?
I'm just concerned about the congestion and volume of traffic is going to. I drove down and I rode all over that area, and I'm just have a very hard concern about that volume of traffic going through what is available to be egress, regardless of whether it's 12 foot wide or 50 foot wide. That's a bottleneck in that kind of volume.
I'd like to ask Alderman Bellamy what volume that would be. You talking about 400 cars or 100 cars or 20 cars? Do you know how many houses are going to be built there?
No, I don't.
How do you know how many cars are going to be?
Well, that's excuse me, but that's where I have a problem with. We don't know what's going to be built there. That's
The problem that I see is we're wanting to bring this in as an R4.
But we haven't voted to.
I know we hadn't.
We're not voting on that right now.
I know that.
Right now.
That doesn't keep me from thinking ahead.
Well, that's good.
But if you've got an R4 plot sitting here, that's a whole lot more traffic than R1.
You can vote to annex this and it may never have a house on it.
I agree.
All it does is it's going to bring in some property taxes for the city of Manchester.
Any more discussion from the board? Call roll, please.
Alderman French. Alderman Anderson.
No.
Alderman Bellamy.
No.
Alderman Hobbs.
No.
Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsley.
no.
This is not a ball game, and I would ask that you hold your applause. and show respect for for the decisions made, I would ask that you hold applause. This is not a ball game, this is not a sports arena. Thank you.
Ordinances. A, second reading of an ordinance to amend Manchester Municipal Code 18-2031A relative to water rates, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messing.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. The motion is as presented. Any discussion from the board? If not, call the roll, please.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson. Aye. Alderman Bellamy.
Aye.
Alderman Hobbs.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Messing.
Aye.
Alderman Parsley.
The second reading of an ordinance rezoning property owned by Chad and Leanne Stacy on the corner of Haley Drive and Stroud Drive from R3 to R4, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messing.
This is a public hearing. We ask that we, okay. I have a motion. Do I hear a second? The motion is as presented. This is a public hearing. Any discussion from the public, and I'd ask that if you hold it to 2 to 3 minutes and stay on the task at hand. Moving from R3 to R4. Any discussion from the public? Any discussion from the board?
I'm the owner of that property.
Okay.
Pass it through. I'm not a big developer. I'm Chad Stacy.
Okay. Now, your name and address.
Chad Stacy. I own the property there.
And your address, please.
It's 197 Fox Chase in Manchester. It's in the county, but I own a lot there in town. So I do have an interest in it. I'm not a big developer. Looking to put 5 to 9 more units on there. I own the property right beside it. It's got 10 duplexes, 10 units in there. Trying to make a retirement and better life for my girls. So it's already passed one, went through planning and zoning, they approved it. We've got 5 out of 6 of them approved it on first reading. I ask that you do the same consideration on that, please.
Thank you. Any more discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson. Aye. Alderman Bellamy.
Aye.
Alderman Hobbs.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Messing.
Aye.
Alderman Parsley.
C, a first reading of an ordinance zoning 12 and 63/100 acres owned by Curl Properties, LLC, located on Oakdale Street, that was not annexed.
So we can't just vote. Can we zone it? I mean, there's no need to vote on that.
Table that. Next.
The first reading of an ordinance rezoning property owned by Josh Moore on Interstate Drive containing 8 and 49/100 acres from C2 to R4, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messing.
Do I hear a motion?
Sure.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. It has been moved and seconded. The motion is as presented. Any discussion from the board?
That came through planning commission and was positive.
Yes, sir.
No more public discussion. Call the roll, please.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson. No. Alderman Bellamy.
Give me this, please. Yeah. Looking at this map, how much of R2 is going to be changed?
C2, you may.
Yeah, C2, I'm sorry. How much of C2 is going to be changed?
Brittany, would you come to the mic so we can hear you?
The reason I'm asking, I'm very reluctant to rezone commercial to residential. According to this drawing, it looks like it's a driveway to go back to
It's a flag lot, yeah.
the property that they're going to build on back in the back.
Yes, it is a flag lot. I believe that frontage is about 50 feet.
Flag lot, is that just like a right of way?
No, it's part of the parcel, but obviously it will become their drive.
Oh.
It can't really be used for much
But it's
else out
only
there.
50 foot right wide.
I believe so. It's either 50 to 70 feet right there. And then it opens up in the back. The parcel as a whole is the 8.49 acres. This is the first reading. For the second reading, a land use amendment would have to be made because the land use plan, both old and proposed, show it as commercial. The planning commission felt that the shape of the lot would be better for residential use rather than a commercial use. I think is one of the factors that ended up a positive recommendation.
And the land use map supports it,
The land use map actually does not
so
support
we're
it.
changing that with
So
the
we would have been
recommendation of the land
that,
commission.
should it pass.
So the new land use map doesn't support it either.
No,
It's
neither
nothing-
the old nor the new ones.
It's all commercial, all
Shows it as
everything
all
commercial.
commercial, so it would be amended.
But under,
If it passes.
under R4, that strip that's running from the big parcel up to the highway would not be big enough to build on anyway, would it?
No, that would have to simply be the access. Any more discussion on this? If not, call the roll, please. Thank you, Brittany.
Alderman French. Alderman Anderson.
No.
Alderman Bellamy. Alderman Hobbs. Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsley.
No.
Does that pass?
Yes.
E, first reading of an ordinance to abandon the city of Manchester's interest, if any, in an unaccepted right-of-way platted as part of the old LD Nunn subdivision and replatted in Brookmead Homesite subdivision between lots 14 and 15 at the end of Sykes Drive, sponsored by Vice Mayor Message.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. The motion is as presented in discussion from the board. Call the roll, please.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson. Alderman Bellamy. Alderman Hobbs. Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsley.
F, first reading of an ordinance to abandon the city of Manchester's interest, if any, in an unaccepted right-of-way which is unnamed, running along the easterly side of Block A, as depicted on the plat of AF Chambers subdivision, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messick.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. The motion is as presented in discussion from the board.
In case you, on the board, don't know where that is, if you know where the old Downey building is out on 41 Highway, there's a berm to the right of that, that's the right of way. So it has absolutely no use at all for anybody really.
And keeping in mind, if there's any utilities there, that we would...
That's right, but there's not on this one, it's
Okay.
just a stretch of land.
Okay. Any more discussion? If not, call the roll.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson. Alderman Bellamy. Alderman Hobbs. Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsley.
G, first reading of an ordinance to adopt an updated land use plan, also known as a physical development plan, sponsored by Vice Mayor Messick.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. The motion is presented in discussion from the board.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I have a question about this plan. Was this developed by the Land Use Committee, which is a subcommittee of the Planning Commission, at properly noticed meetings? Or was it done outside the regular planning meetings, this map that we have?
Hey, Britt, you might as well come to the mic.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So the land use committee meetings were outside of the planning commission meetings. They were held at noon, totally different times, we did them every other week. The land use committee was formed from the planning commission members. They appointed all of those members. We do have some minutes from those, but the land use committee, subcommittee meetings were not advertised at public meetings.
But they were advertised. Meetings. They were advertised. The committee was set aside for the subcommittee, and then they met.
The committee was formed from the planning commission.
Yes, okay.
The subcommittee meetings were not advertised as public meetings.
No.
Well, it was approved by the planning commission, correct?
Yes.
At a regular meeting.
Yes.
All right, was that regular meeting noticed regular meeting? I know you didn't have necessarily advertised it for a public hearing, but you had a regular meeting.
We advertise our planning commission agendas every month.
So the requirement for a public meeting can be had at the second reading, and I talked about that earlier when I was talking earlier. So we have to comply with notice requirements for that public hearing before November the 1st in the requisite amount of time.
My understanding is, from the Tennessee Coalition of Open Government, they said all meetings of the subcommittee should be advertised, they should be open to the public.
You're talking about the land use committee?
Yes.
So you're saying they should be advertised?
Yes, they're working out public policy, that's 8 people, who are changing the map to guide the decisions that we make. We should have the opportunity, and so should the public, to hear the discussion, to offer input, to know that that's going on. So I would like to motion to send it back to the planning and to have the subcommittee notice their meetings.
There's a motion on the table right now, and we're in discussion, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so with respect, of course, that motion has to wait until after you vote on this one.
Sure, that's where I am on it.
If you're making a motion, that will.
She's not making a motion yet. There's a motion on the table.
That's the motion that I would like to make, but I'm one person, so where is everyone else?
Yeah, this is part of the discussion. So
If we approve this motion as stated, does that make Ms. Anderson's motion moot?
it would, because you passed it, first reading, first reading. There's always, you're going to have a second reading on November the 1st. Now, there's, and I understand the organization that you're talking about.
Sure.
They have a different opinion than some other organizations. And it is a gray area. I would grant you that.
I don't feel like it's gray at all. I think it's black and white. I think public business should be conducted in public. So
Yeah,
that's what we need to strive to do.
You asked me a legal opinion, so I'm giving you my legal opinion.
Thank you.
It's not decided yet whether that's the case or not. I know that organization you're speaking of does promote that. But at some point in time, you have to draw a line, and I don't know if that's a legislative intent or not when those laws were passed, because there's not been a court case or an AG opinion that speaks to answer your question.
So is that an organization, or is that the General Assembly? Is that a law? Is that?
It's an organization, I think she was ordered. Is that, am I correct?
Tennessee Coalition for Open Government. It's a same kind of answer you're going to get if you ask the Comptroller's Office of Open Records Counsel.
But it's not Tennessee Code annotated. It's not something that we're obligated to. I mean, it's a good idea. It's a good idea.
I'm not an attorney, but I think it's the law. That's why I'm not voting for this plan. I would like it to go back through.
That's what I'm asking. Is it the law?
I'm going to state again what I said already. There is not a court case or an AG's opinion that opines whether that is the law or not. I don't think it's clear cut one way or the other. That's why I stated it is a gray area.
if you want to push this back, because they're gonna have one meeting, I mean, that's what they're gonna do, they have a meeting, if they'll push this back, I'm fine with listening to advice. Open records, in task, you know, I think that once we ask these folks for their opinion, we should definitely take it into consideration. So I'm fine with pushing it back for one meeting. You know, that being said, and I want to be clear why this is a gray area position. I don't want this to be turned into something it's not. People walk, there are groups of, there are organizations around the country that all they do is create legislation and bring legislation to city councils and county commissions and state legislatures all the time. And that legislation is created by their organization. And a lot of times that legislation is taken and passed as is through whatever body it is. I mean, there are legislative bodies out there all over the place, which is why it creates a gray area, because the 8 people that are on this board, while there may be elected officials on there, it was not a board of elected officials that were making the decision. It was a board of appointed which is what makes this a gray area. Because if you made it black and white, then you can never take a piece of pre-written legislation and pass it, because you would have to go back to wherever that was created and written up, and that would have it in public meeting. And in reality, it just doesn't. So that's why there is a gray area there. I'll rescind my second.
Did I make a motion? I'll rescind that too.
So I've got a point of clarification. There's only one voting member of the board on that subcommittee. Therefore, legally, the argument would be that there was no deliberation between voting members of a board that are elected. So that is the gray area. That's what takes it out of the open records. Now, if you had a committee that had 2 or 3 voting members of a legislative board, then that's going to almost take it out of the gray area, especially if they deliberated during that meeting. I hope that gives you some guidance, and that's why it's a gray area.
And I would say this. There was one alderman, and I did sit in on the meetings. And honestly, I thought it was that we had noted that it was a public meeting. And I do.
Since the motion has been rescinded, I would like to make a motion that we send it back to the Planning Commission, and that the Planning Commission requests that the Land Use Committee have a meeting that is advertised to the public.
So.
Okay, it is, we have a motion on the table that we send this back to the Planning Commission, and in discussion. Any more discussion? Okay, thank you. Call vote, please.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson. Aye. Alderman Bellamy.
Aye.
Alderman Hobbs. Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsons.
In old business, Attorney Johnson, you want to discuss anyone?
Yes, and so the board passed oral motion, asked the appointment of 2 interim directors with back pay the day after the existing director had resigned. So when I made the call to get a transcript of said motion, it brought back a lot of memories of what happened during that. And the questions that were asked that I didn't know the answers to off the top of my head. So I'm making my best effort after reading that transcript to discern what the exact motions that were passed. I think I can do that. I think that under that oral motion, you have selected interim directors and you've ordered that back pay be done, and that's what I'm going to draw up a resolution of. The other part of the motion that was made that night was about future policy and how decisions would be made. Therefore, that's legislative and would require an ordinance to be passed. Okay, so that's going to have to. I'm going to have to separate those 2 things from that motion that was made and passed that night. I hope to be able to do that so that it meets the intent of the board and the board's vote. The ordinance that will have to be passed is legislative, therefore it'll have to have multiple readings, and you'll have to have more discussion about what exactly you want that future policy. Yes, sir.
Since my motion, I'm the one who made the motion on the second piece, the future policy, I would like to pull that off of the board for now and send that to finance and let HR and finance comb through that policy. I like to give them 2 months to do that, or I'll just bring this ordinance back up. But I'd like to have a little bit more thoughtful policy, because there are some questions that we talked about afterwards, and it's hard to create policy for set period. But I like for that to go back and be brought back to the board by no later than 30 seconds. But that's, if the finance committee is okay with that, I would like for that to go there.
Another part of the motion that probably couldn't be done by oral motion is more legislative in essence is the cannot hire and fire part of the mayor's.
Yeah, and that needs to be the long-term policy, yeah.
But the ordinance you're going to bring up at the next meeting will allow us to pay these men.
You've already passed that. You've already
So what
passed
you're
that.
going to write up
Will be for the mayor's signature and get it done. It'll get it done. Yes, sir.
I do have some things in their own business. Yeah, I would like to make a motion, I'd like to make a motion on a rezoning that failed last month for Josh Moore and 815 Mill Street from R3 to R4, sponsored by Alderman Vice Mayor Messick. I'd like to bring that back for discussion.
Do I have a second on that?
Yeah, motion and a second.
It has been moved and seconded that we're bringing the Josh Moore property.
Bring the Josh Moore property up. Now, I voted against this because there was 2 properties. There's one on Madison Street from R3 to R4, and there's also one on 815 Mill Street, R3 to R4. And I sense there was some hesitation on voting for these, but we didn't really get clear directions why we voted these down. They were recommended that this isn't, with all due respect, a controversial issue. This is a great improvement to this area. This is a really important project for this area. A lot of work and thought went into this project, years and years of bringing that land to suitable stature for use. So I'm asking for this vote on this, but then I'm asking, and it will have to come from Alderman Anderson, Alderman Bellamy, Alderman Hobbs, or Alderman Parsley. I'm asking for one of you four, as a courtesy, to please make a motion to bring up for reconsideration on the Madison Street property as well. These are, and I get, tonight, I'll be completely honest with you, tonight I had every bit of intention on voting for the annexation. And then we can have the debate, we're talking about this 12 acres, then we can have the debate on zoning. But we voted to pass plan of service and then voted against annexation. We didn't vote against zoning. Let it get to the appropriate place and let's have the appropriate debate in the appropriate column. Otherwise, we're just kind of doing what we want to do. That's no better than mixing bags in gray areas. It's the same thing. So let's have the appropriate debate in the appropriate area. And I'm just putting that out there. Yeah, I did vote for the annexation. I was also going to vote down the zoning for now. But in this particular case, like, if we're going to vote this down, we need to have real confident reasoning to tell them. There needs to be a real conflict, real concern. There was none of that with these 2. I felt like we just kind of made an arbitrary vote, and that is coming from me as an opinion. I don't want to play it the wrong way, but I'm asking for your support on this because this is a great improvement to this particular area. A lot of the infrastructural needs brought up in other concerns, sidewalks in particular, are slated to go in this area right now. This is an improvement to the Mill Street area in every way possible. This is one of those things where you worry about property values. It's the other way. The property values are going to go up with this development. And I just think we're going to vote developments down. Unless there's environmental concerns and things like that, I get all those things. I just wish we could at least articulate some reason if we're going to vote it down. So while this motion's got a motion and a second, I'm asking for the one of you four, please, after consideration of this motion, to make a motion for reconsideration on Madison Street as well.
Okay, there's a motion and a second on Mill Street.
Correct.
Any discussion on Mill Street?
I'm a resident right there. I'll tell you, he's right. It's a great improvement.
Any more discussion? Call the roll, please.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson. No. Alderman Bellamy.
No.
Alderman Hobbs. Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsley.
Okay,
Mayor, I'll make a motion to reconsider.
Matt?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on reconsidering or voting for Madison Street? Any discussion on that? Is that moved and second? Any more discussion?
I mean, I'll just say again, if there is something that I'm missing, because I've combed through both of these developments, if there's something I'm missing as to why this shouldn't pass, I'd love to hear about it. Unless that's, and I'm not asking for you to speak up if you're going to fuck up, that's all I'm asking. But if there's something that I'm not privy to, I would love to know, because I just can't find a reason to vote against it.
Any more discussion? Call the roll, please.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson. No. Alderman Bellamy. Alderman Hobbs. Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsley.
Okay. Any more old business that needs to be brought up? Moving into new business. We have a situation where Miss Candy in the water department, she is going to have surgery in probably the end of October. Right now, we need someone to be trained and fit into her job while she's on leave. We don't know if she could be gone 1 to 2 weeks, a month, 6 months, but we don't have a situation where we can hire someone because Miss Candy is not leaving for good, but she is having surgery. And right now in your packet there's a job description for the temporary office manager in water collections office. So to fill this position as a temporary, we have to vote on this job description. Do I hear a motion to approve this job description that's in your packet?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. The motion is presented. Any discussion on this motion?
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm kind of wondering why are we doing this? First of all, we've had 2 major departments that ran good with the interim person taking over. So why do we have to hire somebody, train them to work 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? I hope Candy spends the night in the hospital and bring her home. But why go through what is necessary about hiring somebody outside to do this when there's capable people within the water department that can step up and take her place, just like these 2 gentlemen did the 2 departments they took care of. I just don't see why we would have to hire somebody to be an interim.
So are we voting on hiring somebody?
Well, approving a job description, why we need a job description?
Okay, I'm just going by what Miss Candy has told me that she needs to cross-train someone.
Well, I mean, Mayor, why hasn't that already been done?
That's good stuff. I mean, I feel like every department should have someone cross-trained if they have to leave. But I've been told that Miss Candy has not cross-trained, and Bridget would put in, I'm not gonna put you on the spot, but is there some cross-training with Miss Candy's job that needs to be done?
Yes.
And MTAC said there needs to be some cross-training when they did a assessment of the water and sewer department. They did say that there's not enough cross-training, and I'm just taking what Miss Candy said.
Well, let me address what you just said. We're gonna hire somebody, or we wouldn't need job description. I'm just assuming we're hiring them. But we're getting a job description out here, and we're gonna train somebody however long it takes to be able to step in this job. That's crazy.
Exactly.
Hire somebody, train somebody that's gonna be here. This person will be gone when Candy comes back. Train somebody that's in the department now, and in that way, if the situation comes again, you got somebody to step in, you don't have to go look for somebody else to hire for 2 or 3 weeks. I think it would come from in-house.
I'll rescind my second. I'll rescind my second.
The motion of the job description, so there's a motion with no second right now. Do I hear a second? Okay, it failed.
Mayor, if it's not seconded and voted on, does that mean it's over?
We just assume that, and every department should have cross-training. But for some reason, there was not cross-training in this department. So, anyway, moving right along. Okay, moving right along. Manchester Housing Authority, this is the mayoral appointment, and I have made the appointment of Jessica Jernigan in this position. Alderman, representative of tourism, Alderman Bellamy said that he would step down from tourism, and Alderman Hobbs said he would take it. So I need a motion and a second to approve.
I make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Moved and seconded that Alderman Hobbs will take that position. In discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Alderman French.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson. Aye. Alderman Bellamy. Alderman Hobbs. Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsley.
Okay, there has been a change in the meeting times beginning 11:01, and I think every department has, of the committee, the times of the committee, and I think every department has asked, are these times okay? I need a motion and a second that, to approve these changes of time, the meeting schedule changes.
Make a motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded that the change in the schedule has been approved. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Alderman French. Alderman Anderson. Alderman Bellamy. Alderman Hobbs. Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsley.
Okay, next on the list, we have a director's position for the Manchester Water and Sewer position. Right now, we have interviewed Mark Parker from once we interviewed, we like him, and we're recommended. And it was on the interview, it was Mark Messick, Scott St. John, and me, and we fit all the job description that was approved by the board. And at this time, we are asking for a motion and a second that we hire Mark Parker at a salary of $130,000 a year.
So moved. Second.
Okay, It's been moved and seconded that we hire Mark Parker. If you would like, anybody on the board would like to ask a question, I would ask Mr. Parker that you would come up and state your name and address, please.
All right, Mark Parker, 8500 Rose Lane, Lascassas, Tennessee. So, and I'll be happy to answer any questions the mayor or the board may have.
And Mr. Parker is a civil engineer. How many years have you been in the water and sewer department in the city of Smyrna?
I've been the assistant director of utilities since '06, and been helping day-to-day operations of water, sewer, natural gas systems, provided engineering support and oversight for the water treatment plant and the wastewater treatment plant there, and currently hold those duties right now.
So you are familiar with water, with sewer problems and collecting?
Yes, ma'am, very, very much so. In Smyrna, we had our fair share of sanitary sewer issues, and we fought through our fair share of commissioner orders and various treatment plant upsets. So yeah, very, very much aware of that.
And when could you come to work your hire?
My first day here could be November the 7th.
And you're also in the military?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's why I couldn't be here. I'm actually scheduled for orders to go up to Rhode Island to conduct the exercise from the 24th of October to the 6th of November. And upon completion of those orders, I can report for work here.
Any questions from the board?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. If not, do I hear a motion to hire? Oh, let's say, yes, I'm just so excited. We have looked hard for somebody to fill this position. But if not, call the roll.
Alderman French. Alderman Anderson. Alderman Bellamy. Alderman Hobbs. Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsley.
Thank you. And I'm sure you want to meet Dana, the interim, after the meeting. He told me he's coming. Okay, right now, we have a chief of police, and we have a recommendation from MTAS, which was, and also one from the safety department. So
I'd like to make a motion. My motion would be to make Bill Sapp, chief of police, be sworn in sometime in the near future before you go on vacation tonight or whenever, before you go visit your queen, which she's dead. And also to have the salary be the same salary as the predecessor, so that would have no budget effect.
I have a motion that we hire
Bill
Sapp and same salary. Who made that second? Okay, in a second. Okay, any discussion on this? And I would like to say that MTAS did get the highest rating for Adam Floyd. And Adam, I do appreciate how hard you have worked. And I'm sure Mr. Sykes would say the same thing, that in this interim, that you are very much appreciated. And I like how you guys have worked together when Yogi stepped down, and that's my comment. Any more discussion? If not, call roll.
Alderman French. Alderman Anderson. Alderman Bellamy. Alderman Hobbs. Vice Mayor Messick. Alderman Parsley.
And I do plan, if it's okay with the board, I do plan to swear in Bill Sykes tonight. Is your family with you? All righty. You know, I did say no applause, but I would like to hear applause for that. Okay, moving right along. After this, we will, after adjournment, no beer board tonight. Asking for comments from the board.
Yeah, don't forget to go see the rec department, the pool party on Saturday. Bring your dogs. Very nice. Sunday.
I'd like to thank Adam for what he's done. I know I've been where Adam's at. Hang in there, don't go nowhere. You're a good officer. But at this point in time, I made a decision I made. But anyway, I like Adam. And Adam's a good man.
Thank you.
Not a word.
If not, to your motion to adjourn, and we will have swearing in service.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Those in favor say aye. All right, right now we will have swearing in.
Completely bypassed all networks to accommodate
I was actually just thinking I didn't get really
Quiet.
I appreciate it. Thanks, good business.
I guess. Best angle, so. That's fine. Right hand, please. I, William Sykes,
I, William Sykes,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and of the state of Tennessee,
and of the state of Tennessee,
and that I will discharge the duties of police chief of the city of Manchester, Tennessee, faithfully, honestly, and impartially, as to the best of my skill and abilities. Congratulations. Okay.